Good morning. How are you? It is morning here in the US and probably afternoon for those of you outside of the US. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So today is monthly book club. So what is monthly book club for me? It is a time when I go live once a month and I talk about one of my favorite books or other resources to use while I am using play therapy and expressive arts with my clients, children, adolescents, even adults and families. I use these oftentimes with groups as well. So today is June monthly book club, and I'm going to be talking about not a book, but a resource that I absolutely love to use. And if you are working with adolescents and even adults, or groups with adolescents, or families with adolescents, I would highly recommend this resource if you want to integrate some expressive arts activities into the treatment process. And one of the reasons that I really like to use expressive arts, especially with adolescents and adults, is because sometimes we don't have words to express what's going on for us. And so having, I would say, like a nonverbal, what I mean by that is like art or poetry, which is verbal. It's just verbal in a different way. Or music, or I think drama is awesome as well. And that is on my bucket list to learn more about drama therapy. I think using drama, I've seen it used so powerfully in groups, especially with adolescents and adults. I think with children, we can use puppet therapy, integrating puppets. So that's another way to do it. And it really helps when you're using expressive arts activities and play therapy activities for our clients to express themselves in a way that they kind of feel stuck or unable to express themselves with just merely traditional talk therapy. And I find that I can even help my clients dig down deep into some of those core issues of shame and some of their trauma experiences. If I'm working with adolescents who've also, or adults who've also had histories of addiction, they often come with tons of shame, and it's not uncommon histories of trauma and significant attachment issues. So using expressive arts activities is a way to help them explore that. So today I'm going to share one of my absolute favorite resources with you to help you do that. So my name is Kathy Spooner. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a registered play therapist supervisor here in the United States, and I have almost 30 years experience in the mental health field working with children, adolescents, and families. And prior to getting into the mental health field, I worked as a special education teacher, working with children with emotional disturbances at elementary age. So I've actually been working with children, adolescents, and families for probably, well, actually not probably, about 40 years, which it doesn't feel like I should be old enough to say that. It's weird. Anyway, if you are joining me live today, go ahead and post your name in the comments. I'd love to see who's here. Let's hear where you're from, what kind of population you work with, and do you use expressive arts? And if you use expressive arts, what kind of expressive arts do you like to use? Go ahead and post that in the comments, and let's get started for today. Okay, so my favorite resource to use, I was first introduced to these at a Santre training, and I absolutely fell in love with them. So these are archetype cards, and they were created by Carolyn Miss, who does a lot of work with archetypes and light and shadow attribute work with her clients. So if you're not familiar with archetypes, or if you need a little dusting off of your Jungian psychoanalytic theory, archetypes are concepts that transcend time and culture. So throughout time and all cultures, we've had queen. So queen throughout time and culture is an archetype, or mother, or father, or vampire, or prostitute, or child. All of these are concepts that throughout time and across every culture, these have existed. And when you're talking about archetypes, to me, one of the most awesome things that I love about this concept is the concept of light and shadow attributes. So the way that I explain that to my clients is our light and shadow attributes. Another way to say those in a more simplistic way is our good and bad aspects, or our positive and negative aspects of ourselves. So around every archetype are complexes, and the complexes are made up of our light and shadow attributes. So think about mother. Some of us have varying degrees of light and shadow experiences with our mother. And when we're working with our clients, especially our adolescents who are beginning to explore in a much more deep way concepts of self, and we're coming to terms with the fact that we're not all good and we're not all bad. This is a developmental thing that as human beings we work through, because as children, very simplistically, we tend to think we're either all good or all bad. And as we're growing and developing the ideas, a healthy self-concept, then we're coming to terms with the reality that I'm not all good and I'm not all bad. And despite my not so fabulous attributes, I'm still lovable, valuable, and acceptable. So when we're working with our clients, this to me is one of the things that is really important to help my adolescent and adult clients explore and come to terms with, because ultimately we want to be able to integrate and realize that as a human being, I exist on this planet, and if I exist on this planet, then I am valuable. I have value and worth as a human being. And that's part of the shame resiliency that we need to work through, and a lot of what Brene Brown talks about with her shame resiliency, and Kristen Neff talks about self-compassion. So this resource by Carolyn Miss, to me, is one of my favorite ways to make it a little more concrete to help my clients explore. So if you're participating today, go ahead and post your name in the comments. I'd love to see, have you heard of these cards, or have you used expressive arts to explore archetypes and light and shadow attributes? How have you done that? Go ahead and post those in the comments. I'd love to hear what you've done. I'm going to play around with I forgot, yesterday I was having such a rough day. I didn't get started right on the live. And then I forgot to take this little banner down. So today I'm really focused on getting all that right. So anyways, so I'm going to share why these are three I picked out. This one's one of my favorites. No, not that one. This one is one of my favorites. And to be honest, in my head, I've kind of memorized this because as a mental health professional, we want to help. That's why we got into being mental health professionals, because we want to help people. the reality is, and I think this is part of what we learn as we're developing and growing as mental health professionals, is come to realize that it's not my responsibility to make the change for my clients, because I don't have that power. Only my clients have that power. My job is to help and support them in the best way that I can in order to help them make the change and kind of walk beside them through that difficult journey. So this is the archetype of Messiah. The light attribute is serving humanity with humility. The shadow attribute is exaggerated belief that you are the only means through which a cause can succeed. And I really feel like that's true for many of us in the mental health field, especially in the beginning when we're just getting started, is because we do want to help. We have to come to terms with the fact that there's only so much we can do, and we don't have the power to actually make the change for our clients. So the light attribute is serving humanity with humility. And I believe as mental health professionals, that's what we want to do. We want to help people and we want to serve them with humility. The shadow attribute is really having to come to terms with the fact that I can't make the change for my clients. And also for my clients, especially adults who have issues that they're struggling with, or family members who are struggling and they're worried about their family members. This is also true for them. If they have a compassionate and caring heart, it's often hard for them to come to terms with the fact that they can't fix it for their loved one. And that's a difficult and kind of heart-rendering thing to come to terms with. Once we do, though, it's really freeing. And to me, that's the work of looking at archetypes and the light and shadow attributes. I can share this with my client if they pick it. If they pick this one, then we can talk about what are the light attributes and what are the shadow attributes. I'll often say to my clients, our strengths are also our weaknesses. And it's important for us to understand both, because when we're aware of both, then we have choice. I can either recognize, oh, okay, wait, that's not going to work so well, and let me focus on what more of the positive aspect of that strength. And I have to be aware of when the not so fabulous part of it shows up so I can manage that more effectively. If I don't acknowledge it, though, I don't allow myself to have choice. And so to me, that's what's so awesome about these cards, is because our clients can look at those attributes, those light and shadow attributes of those different aspects of their personality. So here's another one. This one is addict. The light attribute is helps you recognize and confront addictive behavior. The shadow attribute is compromises integrity and honesty, allows an addictive pattern to have authority over your inner spirit. And then here's one for mother. This one is light attribute is nurturance, patience, unconditional love, joy in giving birth to life. And the shadow attribute is smothering or abandoning children, instilling guilt in children for becoming independent. So the way that I introduce these cards to my clients, and trust me, I've used these in a group with adolescent girls who didn't know me very well and looked at me like, we have another therapist, she's annoying already. So I walk into this group, and it's in a residential treatment setting. They don't know me very well. And I'm thinking to myself, these are like my golden ticket to get people to engage. I am telling you, these are awesome, awesome, awesome. So here's how I introduce the cards. This is how I did it in the group, and here's how I do it with my clients in general, even when I'm doing individual counseling. So I'll show them the cards and I'll say to them, so go through these cards and pick out the cards that resonate with you the most. Try not to go over 5. So just read through them, see which one you kind of resonate with, and see if you can keep it to 5. But, pick as many or as few as you need to pick. And that's all I say. And I don't explain the whole process, because I find that if I give too much information up front to an activity that I'm just introducing, they get overwhelmed and confused. And then they kind of shut down. So that's the directive that I give. And then I allow them to go through the cards. And I watch them begin to connect to the different cards and then get excited about using them. So then once they've picked their cards, then I'll have, honestly, sometimes they'll pick like 10, 12. If that's the case, then I'll ask them to go through and pick out maybe 5 that they resonate with the most. And sometimes some of them will pick 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 or 7. So then I'll ask them to read aloud, go through and read them aloud. And then it gives us an opportunity to talk about how that particular card applies to them. And one of the things that I think is really helpful for our clients is, especially the ones that are so focused on their negative attributes, for them to be able to see by looking at the card, there's a positive aspect to that quality. So it's not just negative, and it also has a positive aspect to it, because what we want to do ultimately is help our clients integrate a sense of self, coming to terms with the fact that we're both good and bad. We have our positive and our negative qualities. And so it's equally as important to highlight those positive qualities for our clients as well. And then I'll often, once they've used the cards, then there's usually 1 or 2 that kind of stand out, and you can amplify that a little bit more. You can have them do a journaling activity with it, where you allow them to give voice. It's like you can say, well, if that, like in this one, if this mother could talk, what would it say? And then you can have a dialogue between the light and the shadow attributes using journaling. They can use poetry, and I talked about poetry yesterday in my live. Also, you can have them use art and represent, using art, that archetype for them based on the conversation that we've had. Also, you can use Santray. You can see in my background here, I have a lot of Santray miniatures. I love using Santray. And that also helps to amplify a little bit more. So that is my resource tip and share for this month in June. I think you will not be disappointed if you use the cards. I will, after the live episode ends today, then I will go back and post a link to get the cards on Amazon if you're interested in getting the cards. They're about $20-ish without tax and shipping. So just as a recap for today, as human beings, we are both bad and good. And a significant part of the healing process is exploring and understanding aspects of ourselves and exploring those light and shadow aspects of ourselves, and coming to terms and integrating those. And using the cards, I have found gives it more of a concrete way to explore that, and to explore both the light and shadow attributes of each of those aspects of ourselves, and gives us permission, or gives our clients permission, because we invite them to explore. And it really does give invitation to explore some of those more painful areas that our clients are having to work through and resolve. And then thirdly, you can use other expressive arts activities in addition to the cards in order to amplify and give voice to what you're exploring with your clients and what they're exploring about themselves, to give more voice to it, to give more ability to go deeper with it in that exploration process. So that is it for today. If you are interested in learning more about integrating play therapy and expressive arts into your work with children, adolescents, and families, I do have 2 trainings coming up on Santray, 2 online trainings. So if you want to go to my website, you can check those out on my website. Those will, I suspect they probably will fill up kind of quickly. So if you're interested, go ahead and check out the website on the trainings page, and it'll tell you more about those 2 websites. Those 2 trainings coming up in July and August. And I have some online courses that I'm getting ready to launch, so I'm excited about that. And the one I'm getting ready to launch is specifically for using expressive arts with adolescents, which you can also use it with adults with that one. So I will also post in the comments below, I will post a link to the archetype cards on Amazon if you want to purchase them. I would highly recommend getting them. They are fabulous. You will not be disappointed. And then also, if you're interested in using expressive arts and play therapy, I do have an online supervision group. As a registered play therapist supervisor, we are required to get supervision when we're working towards our registered play therapy certification. So this group would meet that requirement. Also, if you're interested just in general in incorporating play therapy and expressive arts, you're also welcome to participate. It's for mental health professionals working with children, adolescents, and families. So if you're interested in that group, send me a private message, tag me in the post. I'm happy to talk to you about the group to see if it's a good fit for you. All right, so just if you're interested in the group, just send me a private message and I will get back to you about that. All righty. Well, that is it for today, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.